Welcome to Tea with Tanya podcast. Every week, I'll be brewing up a perfect blend of public health stories, which will include maternal and reproductive health, career and academic advice, self-love, health, and wellness tips. Join me, your host, Tanya. I'm a public health professional working in maternal health. I'm a birth and postpartum doula, a placenta encapsulation specialist, and certified lactation counselor by day. And I'm your average tea-loving millennial and content creator by night. So pour yourself up a cup of tea and join me in the tea tasting room for your weekly dose of inspiration where you are the center of our conversation. This podcast is here to serve you. So come take a sip with me and let's start promoting positive living together. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Tea with Tanya. Thank you for joining me here in the tea tasting room today. It's a new month, so you know what that means. We have a new theme. There's going to be different things that I'm going to be talking about. And to keep it real, guys, I'm going to be talking about stress. I'm not going to I can't even sugarcoat it. I'm going to be talking about stress, which is also known as the silent killer. So on this episode, or in this month of April, we're going to be talking about trying to keep up with work life and side hustle balance, as well as the impact of stress in the workplace on our health. Like I said earlier, stress is honestly the silent killer. It affects your mental health. It affects your ability to even function. And I'm saying this speaking from experience. So that's going to be our focus. That's going to be our theme for the month of April. So get your cup of tea, coffee, whatever your drink of choice is, and join me on this wild ride this month as we talk about managing our side hustles, pursuing our passions, as well as working on 9 to 5 and trying to make it work, even when they're stressing us the hell out. Because we know how our jobs can get. Sometimes, like for me, I love my job, but it can get so stressful that I'm taking my job or I'm taking work home with me, not only physically, but mentally. So we're going to get into all of that this month for sure. Now, on today's episode, I do want to talk about trying to keep up with a side hustle or work-life balance. And I'm going to give you guys, for context, I'm going to give you guys the backstory because I think sometimes I tend to mention, I do X, Y, Z, or I'm juggling this, but I don't think I've really spoken to you guys about exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and if I'm even doing it. Okay, I'm going to keep it real. So I want to talk about what is a side hustle first. I'm going to get into it, but I want to talk about what is a side hustle. And I found that definition in the Webster Dictionary, where it says a side hustle is work performed for income supplementary to one's job. So these days, lots of people have a side hustle to help them earn extra income, develop new skills, and become business owners. And eventually one day, quit your job. Some of us, we know we're living in this inflation time. We got to get that coin. We got to try to get that extra money. Sometimes our job is paying us decent, but we just need that extra coin, as I like to say, so that we can live our best life. Like for me, I need the extra money because I want to travel. I want to go to see all these different concerts. My side hustle was able to pay for my Beyonce tickets. So yes, I'm going to be in the Renaissance. I'm there. I'm going to be at the Renaissance World Tour. But, so these are different things, or there are many different reasons or ways you can earn extra income, and that's by way of a side hustle. Some people do have other jobs where they work 2 to 3 jobs. I've been there before. But these are, a side hustle is something that could be also a passion project that you end up turning into income and making a living from that. Some of the benefits of having a side hustle is increased financial stability because you have that extra income. So sometimes we're busy worrying about, I got to pay my rent or mortgage, I got to pay X bill, or I may have a child or children. And we know children, they're not cheap. They come with a enormous amount of responsibility, and you got to take care of this said person until they're able to be in the world and have a job. So that's 18 to 20 years of you taking care of one human being before they may end up even earning their own income. So of course, it increases financial stability. A side hustle could be a passion project, but something that you work towards saving money, let's say for a trip to Bali or a trip to Antigua, where I'm from, whatever it is, that's what you can use for which your side hustle money, but it helps to increase financial stability. So you don't have that stress of worrying where the next bill is going to be paid or where your next income is coming from. Because I'm not sure, I've been there. It's a chance for you to work on your passion. You can also use your side hustle to make a career change and end up turning your side hustle into a full blown, full fledged business. Of course, develop new skills. I have definitely developed new skills. And sometimes, we've seen the stories where we've seen influencers of different people saying, "Oh, I quit my 9 to 5 and I'm working for myself full time." And sometimes, I have a little qualm about that because I feel like, show me how you did this. But you know what? That's another episode for another time. So it's an opportunity for you not to work for anyone, and you can learn more about your creativity, and it helps to build confidence. And that last one here is for me. But let me take you guys back when we're talking about side hustling and how I became on this side hustling journey. I'll be honest, I was a bit naive when, if someone would have asked me, let's say 6, 7 years ago, Tanya, what is a side hustle? I probably would not be able to tell you. But then when I'm thinking back, I was side hustling, but didn't know that was a term. Selling this thing in school, selling something. I was the Avon lady selling Avon. I was doing I was doing it all. I was writing papers for people in school, all these different things I was doing to make the extra money because I do like nice things. I do like to spend a pretty penny on some things. I'm very frugal, but I want to be able to have the money to do what I want to do. You know what I mean? And not depend on my parents or anyone else. I want to be able to have that extra money to do what I want to do and not have anyone also watching my pocket. So I was side hustling before I knew that that was the term. I think my first actual side hustle gig was me selling shirts. I think that's what it was. I'm not sure. I could be probably mixing up something, but I think it was me selling shirts. Again, being inconsistent, not knowing what I'm doing, just doing it for the sake of wanting extra money. But I'll talk to you about that need for wanting extra money as well. But my first official that I can vividly remember and know for sure when I started taking this thing seriously was blogging. I had a blog that was called All About the Scrub Life. And I remember when I failed out of nursing school at the end of the fall semester in 2015, I was failed out of school. I was stressed. I was depressed. I was sad. I was thinking of myself as a failure. I'm not a failure, but when you fail something, like failing out of nursing school is a big freaking deal. Like my parents are paying all this money in tuition at this expensive ass school for me to go and fail out of nursing school by point 0.5 points. And I'm going to always add that point 0.5 part in because that legitimately still traumatized me to this day. Like, you guys could not round up and then you get that passing grade. But that's besides the point. And I remember, of course, talking to my family and talking to those closest to me. Of course, they're supporting and encouraging me. But I remember Googling, what do you do after you fail out of nursing school? And I kid you not, I could not find one article. Or if I did find something, I don't even know what it just was not doing it for me. I could not find an article about what to do after you fail out of nursing school. There was nothing there to tell you, okay, you wait 2 years or you try to transfer to another school or you go into a different program. There was not one thing about that. And that's when the idea of starting my blog came about. I was still in school at the time, but that's when the idea came about. And I told myself, okay, I need to speak for those people. Back then, I had a clear idea. I know who my audience was. Let me tell you, I know who I was going to talk to. I was going to talk to college students who are failing out of nursing school, or if you fail out of any kind of program, essentially, you'll know what the next steps are. And that's when I birthed All About the Scrub Life. I was chronicling my journey. I was documenting my journey through nursing school as well as failing out of the program and trying to figure out what my next step would be. And of course, in all of the lifestyle here and there, what I'm doing as a college student, the wellness, because I'm promoting positive living. I've always been about that life. So that's when it became a part of me. I was consistent. I was taking those photos. Because let me tell you, blogging it's not easy. You can write words, but when you want to produce a particular quality content, I was taking photos. I was consistent. I was planning my time when I would dedicate to write a blog post. Like, I had every single thing. Like, I was a girl. I was taking every course you can think of about. I'll say influencing. I don't think that's what it was then, but anyone who was offering a course about something as far. But at the time, it was blogging. Because blogging was a big deal back then. It's still a big deal now, but back then it was everybody and their mama was blogging. That became my official side hustle. Wasn't really making any money. I wasn't even making any money. I think it took me years before I made my first dollar as a blogger. And that wasn't even consistent, to be quite honest, as well. But took me a while, but I was consistent as ever. That was my first time, besides now, that I realized I have been as consistent ever. So that became my side hustle, but a side hustle slash I would say, a passion project without making any money because, when you're a newbie, you got to be consistent. You got to find your audience. You got to be good at storytelling. You have to build your community. And that's what I did with my blog. Then I moved to a new state, was documenting again that journey into a new state, trying to get into a nursing program, being told no, changing majors before ended up obviously finding my career path. So I did that blogging consistently up until 2020. Consistently, keyword consistently, because I was blogging consistently until then. Of course, I would take breaks here and there, but it wasn't anything too long. But I blogged consistently up until 2020. I remember my first paid partnership was with a brand. It was like some card brand. We were talking about Christmas cards. I still love them, and they sent me customized products, and they also paid me. It wasn't anything. I can't remember. I don't even think it was over $100 at the time. And back then, brands weren't really paying quote unquote influencers or bloggers no top dollars like they're doing now. You get in where you fit in. You have to just get whatever they were giving you, and you were so excited. Oh, I have gas money. Oh, I'm being paid because my consistency essentially would have paid off. And then I think another brand deal that I got, I was working, I forgot what I was doing, but either way, I was able to make a few dollars from my blog. And then somewhere in 2020 and 21, I kind of shelved the blog a little bit. I shelved it in a sense where I haven't been consistent. I think my last blog post may have been in 2021, could be 2022 early, but I'll be lying. It most likely would have been 2020, 2021. I put it on the back burner because I didn't have the passion that I had when I first started. And then I got confused about what my niche was. And I fell off because for me, if I can be honest, and then we'll get into how do you know if a side hustle or decide what your side hustle is. But I think part of me, the reason why I lost my spark as it relates to me blogging, because I like to write. I listen to me, I write every single thing out I write. If I don't write, it's not gonna happen. And then there are days when I have, like, when you're in the shower and you have so many different thoughts and these ideas, and then when you get up, you can't remember anything. I hate that part, but that's why I write everything. And I like, in a sense, storytelling by way of writing, but I was still perfecting my craft. Blogging made me fall in love with storytelling. Blogging made me like writing even more because I wasn't the best writer. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't feel like writing. I would be that girl if I wanted to. I would pay somebody to write a paper for me. Don't judge me. That's the kind of girl I was. I would have. I mean, I've done it before, but I would do that because I just did not want to write. But when I started my blog in 2016 or 2017, I think it was, I fell in love with writing and writing stories. Some didn't become blog posts because I'm like, it's too personal or I didn't feel like it fit. But anyway, I fell off of blogging because I didn't know what direction I wanted to go in. As you continue to grow and you realize at the time where I was in my life, I was no longer of service to the nursing students that I wanted to be of service to by way of my blog. Because remember, I was documenting my journey in nursing school, my journey in failing out of nursing school, trying to figure out the next step. So I didn't know what I was doing. I transitioned into just a life of a college student. I was talking about life as an undergrad, giving all these tips and tricks, and then of course the pandemic happened. So I was posting blog posts about how to master your online classes and these different things. I was pretty consistent again in 2020, but I just lost that fire that I had in me to really want to do it. And then of course you can get. I'm gonna keep it real, guys, because I feel like I'm trying to dance on the topic. Enough people weren't necessarily reading my blog posts anymore. For some reason, I feel like there was a disconnect somewhere. I can't tell you where or when it happened or why it happened, but there was a disconnect because the people who I was catering to at the time, they have moved on. They're in their careers now. So reading about college life was not of any use to them, and I didn't utilize the tools that I had. Let me tell you, like I said, I was enrolling myself in different classes. I was following people who were selling courses about how to let your blog become like with livable wages or whatever it is. But I wasn't utilizing that tool, and I fell off because my views weren't where they once were, and I was in denial. And I thought I had to be like a particular person who I saw was blogging, or someone who started out blogging the same time as me and seeing where they were versus where I was at the time. It did deter me. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes, in life we tend to see look at people. Of course, we're all equals. Yes, they say that. But, for instance, for me, when I fell out of nursing school, I was sad. I was sad. But of course, I am resilient. Perseverance is always key when it comes to me. But when I look at, there was a period of time, at least a year and a half, when I saw my peers who moved on without me in nursing school, graduated, actually became actual RNs and living their best life. I was bitter. Not bitter in a sense where I was jealous of them. I don't think I wouldn't say I was jealous of them, but it just gave me feedback. It's like, man, that should have been me, could have been me. And it wasn't. That's how I felt when I was blogging. I was like, okay, this was supposed to be my passion project slash side hustle. And then the people who I started blogging with, because at the time, the blogging community was very thick. Like we had that support. I remember being in Facebook groups and Instagram. We had a different type of support. And then for somewhere along the line, I don't know, everybody just became distant. Nobody gave a damn, and the support was no longer genuine. But I remember seeing people who were blogging achieve certain things, or it looked that way from the outside looking in, because you just never know. Because as we've come to know, people just show up and do things without even, and they live the lie, trying to put on a facade. But so that also discouraged me, and I was trying to find my footing of as to what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to educate and empower and have fun, but I didn't know how I was going to translate that via the blog. So I said, no, let me put the blogging on the shelf and figure out what my next step was. Let me continue to grow and build my career and figure out where I'm going to be in my 9 to 5 in building that career that I want to build. And then I'll think about what my side hustle could essentially be. And then that fast forwarded to 2019 when I did a study abroad stint in Uganda. That's when I came up with the idea for my nonprofit. But ideally, I knew I was going to do something nonprofit wise or giving back in some way, shape, or form. Because when I migrated to the US, I remember saying that I was going to give back specifically to my country of Antigua in some way, shape, or form. And I thought I had to be a millionaire, ideally. But it wasn't until I did a study abroad trip to Uganda and experience life over there. Such a beautiful life. Oh my goodness. It just, that particular study abroad trip changed the way I look at life and changed my life forever. Like every time I think about that country or thinking about Uganda, I just know that it was a pivotal moment in my life. And that's when I decided I was going to go ahead and form my nonprofit organization, Scrub Life Cares. Again, I guess you can tell I love the word scrub, and I'll talk about that, my organization, in a different episode on what we do and how I came about to do that. But that's when I started my nonprofit organization, and it started as a passion project. But then I took a nonprofit class in college. I again took many different courses, got people to help me. Because one thing about me, I am going to outsource help, but I will say outsourcing help, while smart, is not smart when you're not making money. It's not smart when you don't have any money, or you don't have a job that can cover said outsource or said resources. So I will say, be mindful of that. Don't do what I do by spending money I barely had doing things instead of actually doing my own groundwork before anything else. That's a big no, 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 no. And we'll talk about that. But I remember starting a nonprofit, and that became my passion project. Is what I would work on every single day, trying to figure out how I can grow my nonprofit. Because for me, in my mind, I want and I will have my nonprofit will be global at some point in time. It will be a global organization. So I started working on that. And then in 2020, that birthed Tea with Tanya podcast as well. I remember getting my first speaking engagement. A group of high school students, they asked me, and I cannot remember the name for the life of them. They were semi-scholars. And I remember one of my public health sisters recommended me to them, and I did a public speaking engagement. This is when I had to do my full research, my homework, making my PowerPoint, doing all what I had to do to make sure I was being the best version of myself. This is my first ever public speaking engagement outside of school. But you have presentations, you're going to talk in class. It's like you don't care how you show up, but you're just like, okay, whatever, it's class. These are my people I'm seeing for the last 15 weeks. Okay, fine. But I had to come correct because I knew at some point in time also I wanted to do public speaking gigs. And I'm going to be honest, I have an accent, you hear it. Sometimes I'm here trying to code switch and all these different things. I'm done doing that too, I'll be honest too. But I had my first speaking engagement in 2020. That was during COVID times, some really, really crazy, wild times. And I remember the adrenaline. I remember the sweating that I had. I was sweating. I was sweating so much. And I remember at the end of the session, the many questions the students had for me. And it just lights some sort of fire inside of me. I'm like, okay, no, I can do this forever. I can be talking to people, doing public speaking engagement. And that's when I decided to start by having an Instagram live series called Tea with Tanya. So you see the connection here. That's when I started talking about tea with Tanya. And that's when it birthed the Tea with Tanya podcast. I said, no, let me do a trial and error trial run with the Instagram live series, and the feedback that I got every week, having different people on as guests, having people in the Instagram live commenting, and we're all just talking, really building that community. And that was the first time ever since I started this side hustle journey, realizing that I can actually build a community and continue to empower people. And that birthed the Tea with Tanya podcast. And I'll be honest, 'cause everybody keep telling me, oh, get a YouTube. Guys, I do not have, in my opinion, I do not have a face for YouTube. One, and two, YouTube takes way more work than a podcast, to be quite honest with you, or at least in my opinion, and what I thought at the time. And that's when I decided to have my Tea with Tanya podcast. And here we are today. Essentially almost 2 to 3 years later, but I haven't been as consistent until recently. So that's kind of where I got into this side hustle journey. Then, see, I'm missing one thing. See, let me tell you, I have so many side hustles, so I'm doing so many different things again, and we're going to talk about that doing the most without seeing any results or not necessarily honing in on your actual skill. And as you know, I'm also a birth doula, postpartum doula. I also do placenta encapsulation, and I'm also a certified lactation counselor. So that also is my side hustle. So when I'm not at my 9 to 5, when I'm not working on this podcast, when I'm not working on the nonprofit organization, I am trying to make time to work on my doula business, because I'm servicing clients, I'm attending births, I'm providing education, I'm providing resources, and with that, that is one of my side hustles that generates the most income as of right now. My doula business is why I have to be consistent. And let me tell you guys, being consistent is hard. I don't care what nobody tell me. It is hard, and unless you don't have that discipline, it's just challenging. And even sometimes, even when on the days when you have discipline, you just don't want to do anything. You just want to come home, sit on your couch, and watch your TV. Like, honestly speaking, like, I'm just gonna keep it real. As consistent as I think I am, sometimes I just don't want to do the freaking work. I would like to just tell somebody, hey, I want to do X, make it happen. And that's just how I feel on most days. But essentially, like I said, I have my no as my active side hustles is my nonprofit. And I don't really like to refer to my nonprofit as a side hustle, because it's a full blown functioning 501c3 registered nonprofit where we're trying to do good in the community. So I no longer look at it as a side hustle. If I can be honest, it's my next full time job, being the founder and CEO of Scrub Life Cares. I don't really even classify that anymore as a side hustle, to be quite honest. But my other side hustle are my doula business, where I'm taking care of families, working along with families. And my other side hustle is this podcast, Tea with Tanya. Me talking to you, me inviting you guys into the tea tasting room every week. This is my other side hustle, this podcast. And to be quite honest, I'll be honest, I'm not making any money from this podcast yet. And I'm going to say yet because I have big things in store and I'm being consistent. And I also want to give a quick shout out to my girl, Rue, my podcast editor, who continues to push me and drive me daily. But between my podcast, between being a doula, between working my 9 to 5, between running a functioning nonprofit organization, it definitely is a lot. But I've made the commitment. I have personally made the commitment to continue to developing my skills as a podcaster, to continue to take this seriously, because it's no joke. You see a lot of content creators outside, and we talk about it's free to support. It really is free to support, but it's not an easy task. So it's definitely realizing that my podcast and my doula business and my nonprofit, they are my babies, and I want to see them succeed. So I'm setting myself up, developing new skills, trying to become financially stable. Because let me tell you, I have done some things that if I didn't do them in the past, I would be rich right now. But as of now, my main focus is this podcast, my doula business, and of course my nonprofit organization. And I just want to say also, a side hustle is not for everyone. Because on some days, I'm gonna be honest, on some days, many days rather, I'm not even sure that having a side hustle is for me. I have friends who busy in their careers. They have 9 to 5. They make it look so easy. It's so flawless. Or I have like blogging friends or people who are in that content creating or content creation world, and they make it. And I see these people who have full blown jobs, being a wife, being a mom, all these different things, and they make it happen. And some days I'm like, you know what, this is not for me. Let me just pull the plug and call it today. But at the end of the day, it comes down to it. It honestly comes down to me wanting this. It's a passion of me. Me talking about women's health, me talking about wellness, maternal health, all these different things. They are something that's essentially really, 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 they're really passions of mine. And I can sit here and talk about it all day, every day. Like I can talk. My mom always tell me, Tana, you can talk. I can talk. I can sit here all day in this podcast episode talking about what I want to do and my different passions. So it's definitely important, and it's if it's for you, you'll know. If it's for you, you'll know if it's for you. So I want to switch gears a little bit. How do you know, or how do you decide what your side hustle is? And these are questions that I had to ask myself. I would have conversations with those who were closest to me, those who I trusted, those who actively had side hustles or different things, knowing what they were expert in their fields, or they were doing great at what they do as far as having different side hustles. So I had to ask myself these questions. How do I know or decide what my side hustle is? So I'm going to share it with you guys. And I hope this will be helpful. Because again, a side hustle is not for everyone. But given the times that we're in, let me tell you, we need that extra money. We got things to do. We're trying to travel to at least every continent, okay? We're trying to eat good. We're trying to live comfortable. And especially with all this inflation and these different things, we want to be able to can buy a pack of eggs, okay? Because we know that's expensive. So we want to have that money. We want to be able to can afford an egg comfortably without thinking, oh my gosh, they want to have the 12 count, 18 count, or 6 count. It sounds manual, or it sounds basic, but we know the price of eggs went up drastically. The benefits of having a side hustle is to increase your financial stability, to develop new skills, to work on your passion, and just to learn more about your creativity. So here's how you can know or decide what your side hustle is. You want to think about how can you tap into your talent. And that was a question that I had to think about, because I'm like, what? I don't have any talent. What talent do I have? I cannot recall. I mean, I'm an athlete. I'm good at playing basketball or netball. I can run track. I mean, I wasn't no Shelly and Fraser Price, but I held my own in the school competitions. But so I had to think deep, and that's something also that my editor also pushes me to do these days, is to think deep. But I had to think how to tap into my talent. So that's something to think about when you're thinking about how do you know, what do you know, how do you know, or decide what your side hustle is. Think about how can you tap into your talent. What is it that you're good at? Me, I'm good at talking. I can talk from now until eternity. I'm good at uplifting people. I'm good at educating, and I'm becoming more and more better at educating individuals, especially in the maternal health space, because I've been doing it by way of this podcast. I've been practicing on that craft daily. So think about tapping into your talent. What is it that you're good at? What are some strengths and weaknesses? We talk about writing down pros and cons. Think about writing down some of your strengths and some of your weaknesses to see what is it that you are good at. What can you take from each of that list to see what you can do and turn that into. The next thing you want to think about is, what do you enjoy doing in your spare time? So when you come home from work, or from, if you're in college, whatever when you come home, what is it that you enjoy doing in your spare time? Do you enjoy cooking? Do you enjoy crocheting? Do you enjoy sewing, reading? Like, what is it that you enjoy doing in your spare time? And then you also want to ask, what would you do even if you weren't getting paid? So that's something that we got to think about. Like I said, I was blogging for years and not getting paid, but essentially I was a undergrad. It was a passion of mine, and I wanted to do it. It's something that I actually enjoy doing, and I wasn't really making much money, if any at all, at that time. So that's something, again, to think about and to consider. How can I tap in? How can you tap into your talent? What is it that you're good at? Write down what are your strengths and your weaknesses. Create a survey form, create a list, spreadsheet, whatever it is, a document that's going to itemize your strengths and your weaknesses. Think about what is it that you enjoy doing in your spare time. What would you be doing? even if you weren't getting paid. So think about that, spend some time and meditate. Think about, write it out. What is it that these are some steps you're going to take to decide what your side hustle could possibly be, and some steps to get you started. And this is what I had to do. So I'm going to share it with you. You definitely want to do a self-assessment. Like I told you guys earlier, I love to write. I am going to write. I'm going to reevaluate myself. Sometimes I hate it. Sometimes I don't always reevaluate myself, but definitely some steps to get you started in deciding what your side hustle is, or if it is for you, is to do a self-assessment. Write every single step you need to do to make sure your side hustle is up. Okay? Do a self-assessment. So like I said, what are you good at? What are some strengths and weaknesses? What do you enjoy doing in your spare time? So to get you started, you want to do that self-assessment to write out every single step you need to do to make sure that your side hustle is up. You're also going to want to invest time. Now, that's the kicker. Like I said, we're working full-time 9 to 5 jobs. We are coming home. We have to cook for a family. Some of us have kids. Some of us are in school, like myself in grad school. Like we essentially do have a lot going on, but you want to invest time. And when I say invest time, I'm not sitting here telling you, oh, you have to sit 3 hours in one setting. You have to spend 3 hours or 12 hours a week trying to work on your side hustle. Essentially, you're gonna have to invest that time. Well, you can break that time down the best way that works for you. If you can only take on your lunch break, you can only do 30 minutes of sitting down and writing down something that you're good at, planning out what you that you want to do, that you think you can make extra money from, then you do that. Because we got to be realistic. Some of you listening here, you're probably a mom of 1, 2, 3, 4 kids, trying to also live your life and have an identity outside of being a mom and a wife. So you have to invest time. I will say that's going to be hard. And you're probably telling me, oh, Tanya, how am I going to invest time when I have all these things? We often say we make time for what's important. And of course, again, that time doesn't have to be you have to spend 12 hours at a time. You would have to invest that time. But if you can only do it in 30-minute blocks or 30 minutes a week, if that's where you can start out, I'm going to tell you to start out, because I know it's hard. Sometimes it's really, really hard coming home and having to do all these different things and still want to work on your passion project, still want to work on your side hustle, so you can make that, so you can have that supplemental income. So definitely you're going to want to invest time, but you decide what that time looks like for you as well. Do an assessment of the industry that you're trying to get into. Again, some side hustles that you can think of, you can do blogging. There's a lot of blogging, vlogging, YouTube. People, let me tell you, I can guarantee you this. I spend hours watching YouTube. Like, I have all the streaming platforms you can think of. Don't ask me why. But I've been spending hours watching content from YouTube. Like, I have friends who have YouTube channels, so I'm watching their day in the life of, or whatever adventure they're on. I am committed. I am a avid watcher. Let me tell you one thing about me. I'm going to give somebody their views. It doesn't matter who you are, you're going to get that views. I'm obsessed watching the Sanders family. I'm into sports. So every day they're posting something on YouTube from them practicing, preparing for the college football season. Like, so you can create, look at these people that you're wanting to, that are in your industry, in that industry. So you want to think about people you want to work with, or people who you admire. Think about what makes you different from these people. I had a conversation with my editor. Again, she pushes me. She pushes me harder than I have ever imagined, or someone would, in this podcasting field, and makes me think in a different. I mean, make me think differently. Like, I just completely, my whole mindset has changed surrounding being a podcaster. Like, right now, I'm about to be a professional. I am a professional, but you can't stop me right now. You want to think about people who you admire in your industry. What is it that they're doing? How can you make what they're doing, in a sense, become your own, but not necessarily, because we're not stealing people's ideas out here now. We can use it as motivation, okay? But think about what makes you different. And then you can even start reaching out to people via email. I would say via social media, but if that person has an email in their bio, you better get that email in to them. I know back in the day, people were much more friendly and much more easier accessible, and they wouldn't mind helping. Can't really speak for now. That's not my experience, but you just never know. with the time change. So start reaching out to people via email. If you're able to come up with a name for your business that you decide, okay, I want to have this side hustle, I'm going to name it XYZ. You want to go right ahead. And I swear by this, and one of my closest friends was the one that essentially told me about this. Any idea you have, if you have a name, you're going to go ahead and buy that domain name. And you're probably thinking, oh, it's just a side hustle. No, you're going to go ahead. You could be a crafting side hustle. You could be someone that's, I see a lot of resin work going around. You have a name for that resin side hustle. Like when you're coming home and you're working on your resin, you're going to go to GoDaddy or wherever they have, and you're going to go buy that domain name to definitely have it secured. So for when that time comes, even if it's 5-10 years down the line, you already have your domain name. So when it's time for you to officially launch, you don't have to go scrambling or somebody already took your name and all these different things. And then you also want to explore. Write down more than one idea. Me, I'm talking to you guys now, and I'm thinking of all these other ideas that I have for so many different things that I want to share with you guys. So you definitely want to start exploring, start writing down more than one idea. That way you'll be able to capitalize off of that. So I'll do a recap. How do you know, or how do you decide what your side hustle is? You want to think about how to tap into your talent. So what is it that you're good at? Write down your strengths and your weaknesses. What do you enjoy doing in your spare time? What would you do even if you weren't getting paid? And definitely spend time and meditate on this long and hard. You don't need to jump into a side hustle in 5 days or 10 days. You definitely want to spend time, and you definitely want to meditate and make sure it's something that you actively want to do. Because let me tell you, take it from me, if your heart is not in it, it's not going to be successful. And I've had that. Even something as simple as posting content to social media or posting a picture on social media. If my heart is not in that picture, I can almost guarantee you that that post will not perform. I can tell you this. If my heart is not behind that photo, the caption that I'm writing, some reason, and you may call me crazy, but that post is not going to perform because I did not believe in it. I was just doing it for the sake of doing it and didn't have any real motive or mission behind me posting that. Some other steps to get you started. You want to do a self-assessment. Write every step you need to do to make sure that you can get your side hustle up and running. You're going to invest time. Think about what that look like for you. Is it only, I can only dedicate 30 minutes a day, 1 hour a week to my side hustle? That's fine. You decide what amount of time you want to invest in your side hustles. Think about doing assessment on the industry that you're trying to get into, people you want to work with, or people who you admire. Think about what makes you different than them and how you can incorporate it into what is it that you're trying to accomplish. Start reaching out to people who are in the same industry that you want to get into. Send them an email. You don't want to go in, you don't want to pick somebody's brain for free or anything, but just send them an email, build that relationship, and see how that may go almost as like a mentor. You don't want to just bombard them with questions, but talk about how you admire their work, and if they have any tips they can offer you, any suggestions and these different things. And believe it or not, there are kind people out there who will be willing to do that because nobody's necessarily threatened. When you're out here doing good work, you're not going to be threatened by somebody else. The goal is to want to help somebody else, to bring them up to the level that you are and even beyond. And then you definitely want to buy a domain name. The minute you decide you're going to call your side hustle that name, even if you're not 100% sure, I'm going to tell you, you're going to buy that domain name so it's there. So if in 2 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, a month, a year, 15 years, you decide, okay, I'm going to finally decide to get this started, you have your domain name. You have nothing to wait on. You have to fight someone to get your domain name. You have the name that you essentially want and desire. And then you also want to explore. Write down more than one idea. It's okay to elaborate on several different ideas. One idea, maybe the one that pops off, it doesn't matter, but you definitely want to write down more than one idea. And then, again, you want to identify your passions and your interests. Set realistic goals and expectations. Because sometimes many of us, like myself, I tend to jump from A and go to Z, and I want to bypass B, C, D, E, F, G, and not sometimes set unrealistic goals. It's good to have good goals and good dreams and big dreams. I would tell you that, but you definitely want to set realistic goals and expectations. And I think that's something that I struggled with in the earlier part of me starting blogging, even in the earlier part of me starting my podcast, trying to figure out where I want to go, Who do I want to serve? And it's still something that I struggle with from time to time. To be quite honest with you, I'm much more clear now. I have clarity now. I know what I'm doing. But every now and again, that feeling creeps up when you're wondering, am I serving the right people? But I'll tell you one thing my therapist always told me, and I'm telling you guys this: your voice is going to reach its intended audience. So if you are supposed to be a blogger, a YouTuber, a podcaster, someone who has a craft business, you're going to find the right person who will continue to support what you are doing. Think about the importance of having a vision and knowing your why. I can't tell you how many times I've been on someone's Instagram live who's talking about what it takes to be a content creator or a influencer, and they always talk about knowing your vision, knowing your why, knowing why you started. And I will say that's why I'm still here with this podcast, because I know why I started. I want to educate, I want to empower, I want to have fun, I want to be my authentic self. There have been times when I was not my authentic self here on this podcast, and I'll talk about that in another episode. But I definitely know why. So it's why I keep showing up for you guys here in this tea tasting room, because I know my why. I am very, very clear on my why. Sometimes I can get sidetracked, but I never really necessarily lose sight of what that why is. So know the importance of having a vision and knowing your why. Because when you know your why, nothing or no one can deter you. They're not gonna get you. Sometimes we get sidetracked, but in the midst of that being sidetracked, you still have your eye on knowing what your why is. Also understand the balance or the need for a balance work and your personal life. And I will have a podcast episode talking more about balancing work and personal life. To be quite honest with you, it's going to be a good lineup this month because we definitely have to talk about that. But I definitely just wanted to come and share with you guys how you can decide what your side hustle is. Is it for you? Is it not for you? Because again, having a side hustle is no easy feat. But if you are someone thinking about starting a side hustle because you need extra income, these are some tips. They have different benefits. And I do want to point out as I wrap up is it's important to establish some strategies for time management when it comes to work life balance. We have to establish good habits and routines, and we'll talk about that again more in the later down this month. Because like I would have mentioned, we talk about investing time. Realistically speaking, many of us may not have that time. There was a point in time when I had all these things going on, or even a lot more, and I was working two jobs and I was a full-time student as well. I didn't have time to work on my side hustles the way I wanted to, but I always ensured that I would take 5 to 30 minutes to work on something. In between classes, I would sit down and I would explore. I would write down all those different ideas that I have. On my lunch break from work, that 30-minute to an hour lunch break, whatever you have, I will use that time to, of course, check my emails, checking on whoever I need to check in on, but definitely try to utilize your time wisely. And I'm thinking to myself, hey, time, I don't have the time to do it. We have to make the time. Again, you get in it where you can. If you got to be in your car, if you're on the toilet, if you're a mom and you got to go to the bathroom and the bathroom is your safe space away from your child, you whip that phone out. You can either take the time to meditate on what is it that you want to do, or you take your phone out and you just start jotting down ideas. So you decide how much time you want to put into your side hustle and think about establishing a good habit and a routine and just finding that time. And you want to set boundaries and prioritize self care so that we can avoid burnout. And I will be talking about that in an upcoming episode as well. Avoiding burnout, taking care of yourself, and wondering if you should give up on a side hustle or not because you're not unable to find that balance in your life between that. But I wanted to share with you guys just some tips to decide what your side hustle is and if a side hustle is for you. So, starting a side hustle can be exciting. Let me tell you, when I started my blog, it was the most exciting thing. I was so happy. You couldn't tell me anything. So it can be exciting. It's also empowering. I remember feeling empowered that wow, people are actually reading the words that I took the time out to sit and craft. So starting a side hustle can be exciting. It can be empowering, and it's a way for you to pursue your passions. I know if one thing the pandemic taught us is that we are talented than we even probably realize. Many of us became gardeners. We became plant moms. So we're raising plants. So we're taking care of plants. Many of us became chefs. There are many TikToks and Instagram reels that I'm saving so that I can create these same meals. We became chefs. We became builders. We became so many different things. So it's a chance for you to pursue your passions, but it's also important to remember that balance is key. So you may be hearing me talking. That doesn't mean, I know I mentioned some benefits. If it's not something that you're passionate about, it doesn't make sense you're going to force yourself. We know that phrase that's saying, when you have a job that you love, it doesn't feel like working. That's how I feel in my 9 to 5. That's how I feel about this podcast. Have I always felt this way about this podcast? Absolutely not. But now, as I've grown and I've seeked help and gotten all the knowledge that I need and I'm still learning, I am passionate. So recording the podcast episode, trying to figure out the script and the titles and the theme, while not easy, it's something that I actually enjoy. And of course, we want to make sure that we're setting realistic goals and thinking about how you're going to incorporate, how much time you're going to invest in your business. And you definitely want to prioritize yourself above everything else. You don't want to be out here running around, taking on a million and one job, even trying to multitask, and then you're failing at multitasking. You never want to sacrifice your mental or your physical health when it comes to a side hustle. And I will be talking more about that with you or to you on the podcast this month. So I hope you found this episode helpful. I know I spoke a lot about my journey in to becoming I'm not gonna say a side hustle queen, but someone who consistently has a side hustle by way of this podcast and by way of this me being a doula, and of course by way of my nonprofit, which is also a full-time job, being the founder and CEO of a nonprofit that I am trying to take global. So definitely it can be a lot and it's not easy. I will say that, and I'm going to be so real with you guys in this month, because let me tell you, I have given up. I have given up. I have pulled the plug. I have cried. I have lost sleep. I have damn near had to have a anxiety consultation. Well, not had to. I had, simply because of my side hustles or me not knowing how to manage having a 9 to 5 and 15 million other side hustles going on. So we're definitely going to talk about that. So definitely want to thank you for listening to the Tea with Tanya podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more and sign up for our newsletter so you don't miss out anything that's coming up, because I may have some surprises for you guys. Remember to tell a friend about this podcast. And of course, leave your feedback for me. See you in the tea tasting room next week.